Tonight, you are invited to rest deeply as ancient American walls begin to whisper their quiet stories. If this journey brings you comfort, consider subscribing and leaving a gentle comment about where you're listening from. Now, settle in, breathe slowly, and let history guide you into fast, peaceful sleep. As night settles gently over the land, there is a moment when the world becomes quieter than usual. The hurried sounds of the day fade, replaced by a softer rhythm, one that feels slower, steadier, and more forgiving. This is the moment when the stones begin to rest, and so do you. Long before modern cities glowed with electric light, ancient American fortifications stood beneath wide skies, built not to dominate the land, but to belong to it. These walls were raised patiently, stone by stone, by hands that understood time differently. There was no rush. Each movement was deliberate, each placement thoughtful. The builders knew that what they created would remain long after their own footsteps had faded into memory. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, imagine standing at the edge of one of these ancient places. The air is cool but gentle, carrying the faint scent of earth and grass. The ground beneath your feet feels steady and calm, as if it has been waiting for you. The stones ahead are quiet now, no longer tasked with guarding or watching. They simply exist, content in their stillness. These stones have seen countless sunsets. They have watched shadows stretch and retreat, season after season. They have absorbed the warmth of summer days and the hush of winter nights. And yet, they ask nothing of you. They do not demand attention. They simply invite you to slow down. As you move closer, you notice how the walls blend into the landscape. They follow the natural curves of the land, rising and falling in harmony with the earth itself. This was intentional. The builders believed that true strength came not from resistance, but from balance. The walls were not meant to fight nature, they were meant to listen to it. Take a slow breath in and imagine the stones breathing with you. They have learned the art of patience over centuries. They know how to remain grounded through change. As you exhale, feel your shoulders soften as though the weight of the day is gently being set aside. In the quiet hours of the past, evenings here were peaceful. Fires would dim as night approached, their glow reflecting softly against the stone surfaces. Voices lowered naturally, not out of fear, but out of respect for the calm that darkness brought. Night was not something to battle, it was something to welcome. The stones remember this rhythm. Even now they hold on to the memory of slow evenings and unhurried rest. If you listen closely, not with your ears but with your awareness, you might sense a gentle reassurance, as if the walls themselves are saying that it is safe to let go. These fortifications were never only about protection from the outside world, they were also about creating a sense of inner peace. Within the walls, people found comfort in routine, in shared meals, in quiet moments beneath the stars. The stones absorbed laughter, whispers, and long silences alike, holding them without judgment. Imagine yourself sitting near the wall now, your back supported by its cool surface. The stone is solid and dependable, reminding you that you do not need to carry everything alone. The ground beneath you feels stable. The sky above stretches endlessly, dotted with stars that seem to pulse slowly, like a calm heartbeat. Time feels different here. There's no pressure to think about tomorrow, no need to revisit yesterday. The stones exist entirely in the present moment, and they gently invite you to do the same. Your thoughts can begin to drift, like clouds moving lazily across the night sky. With each breath, your body becomes heavier, more relaxed. Your hands rest comfortably. Your jaw unclenches. The quiet of the ancient walls wraps around you like a soft blanket, warm not in temperature, but in feeling. The stones have witnessed generations learning this same lesson, that rest is not weakness, but renewal. After long days of work and travel, people once leaned against these walls and allowed themselves to sleep deeply, trusting that the land and the community would hold them through the night. You are allowed that same trust now. Notice how the sounds around you are minimal. Perhaps a faint breeze moves through grass. Perhaps an owl calls in the distance, its presence calm and unhurried. Nothing demands your attention. Everything moves at the pace it was meant to. As your breathing slows, imagine the stones gently releasing the stories of the day, just as you are releasing yours. They do not cling to what has passed. They simply remain, steady and calm, ready to support whatever comes next. Your eyelids may begin to feel heavy. This is natural. The night was designed for rest, and the ancient walls have always known this. They were built with the understanding that darkness brings restoration, not fear. Allow yourself to sink deeper into comfort. The coolness of the stone behind you contrasts softly with the warmth of your body, creating a perfect balance. You feel grounded, safe, and supported. In this place, sleep arrives easily. There is nothing you need to solve, nothing you need to prepare. The quiet stones have already done their work. They have created space for calm, for stillness, for rest. As you drift closer to sleep, remember that these walls have stood through countless nights just like this one. They have watched the moon rise and fall without concern. They have welcomed silence as a companion. And now they welcome you into that same peaceful rhythm. Let your thoughts fade gently, one by one, like lights dimming at the end of a long day. The stones remain, patient and unmoving, holding the night steady as you surrender to rest. And as sleep finally takes you, you do not fall alone. You rest alongside centuries of quiet, supported by the calm endurance of ancient walls, breathing slowly, deeply, and peacefully into the night. Before the land was marked by borders or roads, before time was measured in minutes and hours, the earth already knew how to remember. It remembered footsteps, seasons, and the gentle pressure of hands shaping stone and soil. In those early days, memory did not live in books or walls alone. It lived in the ground itself. As night begins to deepen and your body settles into stillness, imagine the earth beneath you as a quiet keeper of stories. Not loud or demanding, but patient and steady. The land does not rush. It waits. And over time, it gathers moments the way a river gathers smooth stones, softly, without force. Long ago, the people of ancient America understood this. They believed the earth was not something to be controlled, but something to be listened to. When they began shaping the land into protective spaces, they did so gently, respecting what was already there. They noticed where the soil was firm, where the stone emerged naturally, where the wind rested at night. These early fortifications were not sudden creations. They grew slowly, almost organically, as if the land itself was guiding each movement. A stone placed carefully here, a raised earth mound formed patiently there. Over time, the earth learned to hold these shapes, and with them, the quiet memory of human care. Picture a wide landscape under a fading sunset. The sky shifts into soft shades of blue and amber. The ground still holds the warmth of the day. People move calmly, unhurried, carrying stones that feel heavy yet reassuring in their hands. Each step leaves a mark, not as damage, but as a gentle imprint, an acknowledgement of presence. As you breathe slowly, imagine those footsteps sinking into the soil, becoming part of it. The earth accepts them without judgment. It remembers them the way it remembers rain, sunlight, and roots growing beneath the surface. The land did not resist change, it adapted. It shaped itself around what was placed upon it, learning how to hold walls, pathways, and gathering spaces. In doing so, it became more than ground. It became a witness. Memory in those times was shared between people and place. Stories were not separated from landscapes, they were woven together. A hill remembered gatherings, a stone remembered quiet nights, a path remembered countless journeys taken at an unhurried pace. As darkness settles further, allow your thoughts to slow, just as those ancient builders slowed their work at dusk. They knew when to stop. They trusted the night to do its part. Fires dimmed, tools were set aside, the land was left to rest, holding the day gently within itself. You can rest in that same way now. Imagine sitting near a low earthen wall, your hand resting on its surface. It feels cool and solid, formed from layers of soil placed with intention. This wall is not sharp or imposing. It rises softly from the ground, blending into the landscape as though it has always been there. The earth remembers the hands that shaped it, but it does not cling to them. It simply holds the memory quietly, allowing time to soften every edge. Over years and centuries, rain smooths surfaces. Wind carries away excess. What remains is calm and balanced. The builders understood that permanence did not require force. By working with the land instead of against it, they allowed memory to settle naturally. Their fortifications were not meant to last forever in appearance, but forever in meaning. As you inhale slowly, imagine the earth beneath you expanding slightly, as if welcoming your breath. As you exhale, feel it supporting you completely. There is no effort required. The ground does the work for you. In ancient evenings, people would lie close to the earth, feeling its steady presence. They trusted it to hold them through the night. There was comfort in knowing that the same ground that supported the walls also supported their rest. The land, over time, learned to recognize the rhythms of human life. It noticed when people gathered and when they slept. It learned the difference between movement and stillness. And in learning this, it became a partner in peace. Imagine the quiet sounds of night settling in. Crickets begin their slow, steady rhythm. The wind brushes lightly across the surface of the land. These sounds are not distractions. They are reminders that the earth is awake in its own calm way, always aware, always present. Your body may feel heavier now, more connected to the surface beneath you. This is the same sensation ancient people felt as they prepared for rest, an understanding that the earth would continue its steady work while they slept. The land, over time, learned to recognize the rhythms of human life. It noticed when people gathered and when they slept. It learned the difference between movement and stillness, and in learning this, it became a partner in peace. Imagine the quiet sounds of night settling in. Crickets begin their slow, steady rhythm. The wind brushes lightly across the surface of the land. These sounds are not distractions, they are reminders that the earth is awake in its own calm way, always aware, always present. Your body may feel heavier now, more connected to the surface beneath you. This is the same sensation ancient people felt as they prepared for rest, an understanding that the earth would continue its steady work while they slept. Memory does not rush. It settles gradually, layer by layer, just like sleep. As your breathing becomes deeper, imagine the earth beneath ancient fortifications holding countless nights within it, nights of rest, nights of dreams, nights where nothing needed to happen. The land held them all without effort. You do not need to hold your thoughts tightly anymore. You can let them sink gently into the ground, where they can rest until morning. The earth knows what to do with them. There is safety in this shared stillness. The land does not judge or hurry. It simply remains. And in remaining, it offers support to everything above it. As your eyelids grow heavier, imagine the earth continuing its quiet work of remembering, holding the shape of walls, the echo of footsteps, the calm of sleeping communities, all of it resting together in peaceful balance. Tonight, you are part of that balance, supported by the same steady presence that has held memory for generations. The earth beneath you is strong, calm, and patient. Let your body sink fully into rest. Let your mind follow. The land is here, holding everything gently as it always has and as it always will. As the night deepens and your breathing becomes slower, it is easier to notice the difference between tension and calm. The ancient builders of America understood this difference well. When they raised fortifications across the land, their purpose was not aggression or domination. These structures were guardians, quiet, steady, and reassuring. Long before the idea of conflict defined architecture, fortifications were shaped as protective embraces rather than barriers of fear. They were designed to watch over communities, not to threaten those beyond them. The land itself was considered the first guardian, and the walls were simply an extension of its care. Imagine standing near one of these ancient fortifications at dusk. The light is low, softening every edge. The walls rise gently from the ground, curved rather than sharp, following the natural lines of the earth. There are no harsh angles here, no sense of hostility, only a calm presence that feels dependable and patient. These fortifications were built with awareness. The builders paid close attention to the landscape, choosing locations where hills already offered protection and valleys provided shelter from strong winds. Rather than forcing stone into rigid forms, they allowed walls to grow naturally, like a continuation of the land's own shape. As you breathe in slowly, imagine the calm intention behind every stone. Each one was placed not in urgency, but in quiet understanding. The builders believed that true protection came from harmony between people, land, and time. In the evenings, as darkness settled, these walls became silent companions. They did not shout warnings or demand attention. They simply stood, offering a sense of safety that allowed life within them to slow down. Fires burned lower, voices softened, children drifted into sleep, trusting the presence of something steady and unmoving. The walls did not symbolize fear of the outside world. Instead, they represented care for what was inside. They marked a space where rest was possible, where routines could unfold without hurry. In this way, fortifications were less about keeping something out and more about holding something precious in. As you settle deeper into your resting place, imagine leaning against such a wall. Its surface is cool, but not uncomfortable. It carries the quiet warmth of the day, releasing it slowly into the night. There is no tension in its presence, only reassurance. The people who lived near these fortifications understood that protection did not require constant alertness. Once night fell, responsibility softened into trust. The walls would stand, the land would remain, and sleep could arrive naturally. These guardians did not act alone. They worked together with observation, patience, and understanding of natural rhythms. Elevated points allowed gentle awareness of surroundings, not for confrontation, but for peaceful preparation. Knowing what lay beyond the walls brought calm, not fear. Imagine the stars appearing overhead, one by one. The walls seemed to blend into the darkness, becoming part of the night rather than interrupting it. In this quiet merging, they fulfill their purpose most fully by allowing stillness to take over. As your breathing deepens, notice how the idea of protection can feel comforting rather than restrictive. These fortifications did not confine, they created a space where people could exhale, knowing they were supported. The builders believed that the strongest structures were those that did not need to prove themselves. Their strength was quiet, constant, and reliable, much like the calm you are allowing yourself to experience now. Within these walls, daily life flowed gently. People cooked, shared stories, and rested without hurry. The presence of the fortifications allowed the mind to let go of vigilance and embrace rest. In this way, the walls served not only as guardians of space, but of peace. Imagine lying down within this protected area. The ground feels stable, the air is calm, there is no sense of urgency. The walls stand without movement, reminding you that some things do not need to change for you to feel safe. As the night progresses, even the concept of guarding fades into background awareness. The walls do not actively defend, they simply exist, and in their existence, they offer assurance. This is the kind of protection that invites sleep, not loud or forceful, but subtle and constant. It is the kind that allows muscles to relax, thoughts to slow, and breathing to deepen without effort. The fortifications have learned this role over centuries. They have witnessed countless nights of rest, countless moments when people trusted them enough to close their eyes. That trust remains embedded in every stone. As your eyelids grow heavier, imagine the walls continuing their quiet watch, not out of duty, but out of balance. They do not tire, they do not rush, they simply remain, holding the space steady. Tonight, you are held in the same way, not by walls of stone, but by the idea of gentle protection, by the understanding that safety can be quiet and rest can come naturally. Allow yourself to drift closer to sleep, knowing that nothing is required of you. The guardians are already in place. The night is calm, the land is steady. And as you finally let go, sleep arrives softly, protected not by force, but by the enduring presence of guardians who were never meant to be weapons, only keepers of peace. As night continues to settle and your breathing finds its natural pace, it becomes easier to imagine how life once unfolded within ancient American fortifications. Inside the walls, days were not hurried. Time moved in gentle cycles, guided by light, weather, and the quiet understanding of when to act and when to rest. Within these protected spaces, mornings began softly. Sunlight crept slowly across stone and earth, warming surfaces that had cooled during the night. People woke not to alarms, but to subtle changes, the angle of light, the shifting air, the distant sounds of nature stirring. The walls did not separate life from the world outside. They simply created a calm center within it. Daily routines followed a steady rhythm. Tasks were approached with patience and care, never rushed. Food was prepared slowly, with attention to texture, scent, and warmth. Tools were handled with familiarity rather than urgency. The presence of the walls allowed these activities to unfold without interruption, creating a sense of ease that carried through the day. As you rest now, imagine walking through this space during the late afternoon. Shadows stretch across the ground, lengthening as the sun lowers. The walls cast soft lines that move gradually, marking time without demanding attention. There's comfort in knowing where the day stands without needing to measure it. Inside the walls, people understood balance. Work was important, but so was rest. After tasks were completed, there was time to sit quietly, to observe the changing light, to listen to the land settling around them. These pauses were not considered idle, they were essential. The walls themselves seemed to encourage this rhythm. Their steady presence reminded everyone that there was no need to rush. They had stood through countless days and nights, and they would continue to stand. This knowledge allowed the mind to slow naturally. As evening approached, the pace softened further. Fires were lit gently, not to chase away darkness, but to welcome it. The glow reflected off stone surfaces, creating a warm, steady light that felt calming rather than bright. Conversations grew quieter, words chosen carefully, as though the night itself was listening. Imagine sitting near one of these fires, feeling its warmth without intensity. The walls around you hold the heat gently, releasing it slowly into the cooling air. This balance between warmth and coolness creates a sense of comfort that invites relaxation. Meals were shared without distraction. There was no hurry to finish. Each bite was taken with awareness, each moment allowed to linger. The walls enclosed these gatherings not to isolate them, but to give them a sense of completeness. As your breathing deepens, imagine the sounds of evening settling in, the crackle of fire, the low murmur of voices, the occasional pause where silence feels natural, not empty. These were the sounds of daily life winding down, signaling that rest was near. Children grew sleepy as the sky darkened. Elders spoke softly, their voices steady and reassuring. The walls absorbed these moments, holding them as part of the ongoing rhythm. Nothing was forced. Sleep arrived gradually, like a tide returning to shore. As night fully embraced the space, the fortifications continued their quiet role. They did not change the rhythm, they supported it. They allowed life inside to move predictably and peacefully, free from sudden disruption. Imagine lying down within this protected area. The ground beneath you feels familiar, shaped by countless days of movement and rest. The walls stand nearby, their presence known but not intrusive. There is no need to watch or listen closely. Everything is as it should be. The rhythm of daily life within the walls taught an important lesson that consistency creates calm. When days follow a natural flow, the mind learns to trust that rest will come. This trust allows the body to relax more deeply. As you settle further into comfort, imagine your own day releasing its hold on you. Like those ancient evenings, your tasks are complete, there is nothing left to prepare or plan. The walls of your resting space, whether real or imagined, are holding the night steady. The people who lived within these fortifications understood that nighttime was not an interruption of life, but a continuation of it in a quieter form. Sleep was woven into the rhythm, not set apart from it. As your thoughts slow, imagine the walls witnessing the same process night after night. They have seen countless people surrender to rest, trusting the rhythm they had created together. That trust remains embedded in the space. Your breathing becomes even slower now, aligning with the steady pace of those ancient nights. Inhale gently, exhale fully. There is no need to think about time passing. The rhythm carries you forward. The walls stand as they always have, supporting life in all its phases, activity and rest, light and darkness. They do not rush the transition, they allow it to happen naturally. As sleep approaches, let yourself be guided by this ancient rhythm. The same rhythm that once shaped daily life within stone and earth walls now invites you into calm, unbroken rest. Nothing needs to change, nothing needs to be done. The rhythm continues, steady and peaceful, carrying you gently into sleep. As the night grows quieter and your body settles into stillness, it becomes easier to imagine a time when building was not an act of control, but an act of listening. Long ago, the builders of ancient American fortifications did not arrive at the land with rigid plans. They arrived with patience, observation, and respect. Before a single stone was moved, they watched. They noticed how sunlight traveled across the ground throughout the day, where shadows lingered longest, and how the wind shifted with the seasons. They learned the land's natural language, understanding that it already knew how to support life. These builders believed the land was not empty, it was full of guidance. Hills suggested protection, valleys offered shelter. Natural stone formations hinted at where walls might rise without resistance. Nothing was forced. Everything was chosen with care. As you breathe slowly, imagine standing beside one of these builders at dawn. The air is cool, the earth firm beneath your feet. There is no urgency in their movements. They pause often, placing a hand on the ground, feeling its texture, its steadiness. This simple act of connection guided every decision. The land was not something to be reshaped aggressively, it was something to collaborate with. When soil was moved, it was done gently. When stone was placed, it followed natural contours. Walls curved where the land curved. Pathways flowed where feet naturally wanted to walk. This approach created structures that felt alive rather than imposed. Over time, grasses grew around walls, and stones blended into their surroundings. From a distance, fortifications appeared almost like part of the landscape itself, as though they had always been there. As evening approaches in this imagined place, notice how the builders pause their work. They do not push past daylight. They understand that the land, like the human body, needs rest. Tools are set down carefully, stones left untouched until morning. This rhythm of work and rest allowed balance to form, not only in the structures, but in the people themselves. There was no exhaustion born of haste. There was satisfaction in steady progress, guided by the land's own pace. Imagine the sound of stones being set into place, not sharp or harsh, but solid and grounding. Each stone fits naturally, requiring minimal adjustment. This is what happens when effort aligns with environment. As your breathing deepens, feel how comforting this idea is, that things do not need to be forced to be strong. The strongest structures were those that worked with what already existed. These builders understood that durability came from harmony. When walls followed the land, they resisted erosion naturally. Rainwater flowed where it needed to, wind passed without strain, Over generations, these fortifications aged gracefully, adapting rather than breaking. Imagine touching one of these walls now. The surface is uneven but smooth from time and weather. It feels cool, steady, reassuring. This wall is not perfect by modern standards, but it is deeply balanced. The builders trusted the land to teach them. When soil shifted, they adjusted. When stone cracked, they learned from it. Every challenge became a lesson rather than an obstacle. As night settles further, imagine these builders resting beside their work. They do not worry about what remains unfinished. They trust that tomorrow will come with clarity. The land will still be there, offering guidance once again. This trust allowed sleep to come easily. There was no tension held in the body, no urgency in the mind. The land held both structure and spirit, allowing builders to release their thoughts into rest. You can do the same now. Imagine your own thoughts as stones you've been carrying throughout the day. One by one, you place them gently onto the ground. You don't need to organize them. The land knows how to hold them. The builders believed that when humans moved in harmony with nature, both became stronger. This belief extended beyond construction. It shaped how people lived, rested, and dreamed. The walls they built became quiet teachers, reminding future generations that strength does not require struggle, stability does not require tension, and rest does not require permission. As your eyelids grow heavier, imagine the land continuing its slow, steady presence beneath these ancient fortifications. It holds walls, memories, and countless nights of rest without effort. You are supported in the same way now, by the surface beneath you, by the quiet around you, by the gentle understanding that nothing needs to be forced. Let your breathing slow further. Inhale softly, exhale completely. The builders have finished their work for the night. The land remains calm. The walls stand in quiet balance, and you are free to drift into sleep, guided by the same gentle harmony that shaped stone and earth so long ago. Nothing is rushed, nothing is required. Just rest, supported by the wisdom of builders who knew how to work with the land and how to let it carry them peacefully into the night. As the night deepens and the world outside becomes quieter, the wind remains, a gentle traveler moving across the land, carrying whispers of distance and time. Long ago, the builders of ancient American fortifications understood the wind well. They did not try to block it completely. Instead, they listened. These walls were shaped with awareness of how air moved through valleys, across hills, and between stones. Openings were placed where breezes could pass softly, cooling the space in summer and easing the stillness of warm nights. Corners curved slightly, allowing wind to flow rather than collide. In this way, the walls learned how to listen. As you breathe slowly now, imagine standing near one of these ancient structures at dusk. The wind brushes past you, not sharply, but with a calm presence. It carries the faint scent of earth and leaves. When it reaches the wall, it does not stop. It changes, softening as it passes along stone surfaces. The builders believed the wind carried messages, not warnings or demands, but information. It told them when seasons were shifting, when storms were approaching, and when the night would be cool enough for rest. By listening, the walls became partners in comfort rather than obstacles. Picture a long evening where the air moves gently through narrow passages, creating soft, rhythmic sounds. The walls absorb and reflect these sounds, turning them into a steady, soothing presence. This natural music requires no effort. It happens simply because the walls were placed with care. As your breathing deepens, imagine the wind moving in harmony with you. Inhale as it passes through open space. Exhale as it drifts away. There is no force, only flow. At night, when voices faded and fires dimmed, the wind became more noticeable. It moved along the walls, tracing their curves, slipping through gaps designed intentionally. These subtle movements helped regulate temperature, making rest more comfortable. The walls did not resist this motion, they welcomed it. They allowed the air to interact, to pass through and around them without tension. In doing so, they created an environment where sleep arrived more easily. Imagine lying near one of these walls, feeling the cool air move gently across your skin. It is not cold, it is refreshing, calming, steady. Each breath you take feels supported by this quiet exchange between wall and wind. The sound of air moving over stone is soft and repetitive, like a distant ocean or rustling leaves. This sound does not demand attention, it simply exists, inviting the mind to let go. These fortifications were not silent because nothing moved. They were quiet because everything moved gently. The wind, the walls, the night itself, all part of a shared rhythm. As you settle deeper into comfort, imagine the wind carrying away the thoughts that no longer serve you. It passes by without attachment, just as the walls allow it to pass without resistance. The builders knew that stillness did not mean stagnation. True calm allowed movement without disruption. By listening to the wind, the walls became adaptable, responsive, and balanced. Over time, the wind smoothed rough edges, softened surfaces, and polished stone. The walls aged gracefully, shaped by interaction rather than conflict. This gentle process continued year after year, night after night. As your eyelids grow heavier, imagine the walls continuing to listen. Even now, they respond to subtle changes in air, temperature, and sound. They do not react with urgency, they adjust quietly. The wind carries the memory of countless nights of rest. It remembers how people slept near these walls, trusting the balance they created. That memory lingers, carried softly through the air. You are part of that memory now. Feel how your breath aligns with the slow movement of the wind. There is no need to control it. The body knows how to breathe. The wind knows how to move. Everything finds its place naturally. As the night deepens further, the wind settles into a steady pattern. The walls continue their quiet listening. Together, they create an atmosphere where rest feels safe and natural. Allow your thoughts to drift like air currents, moving gently and then fading. You do not need to hold on to them. The wind will carry them away. The walls remain, patient and receptive. They listen without judgment. They support without effort. And as sleep approaches, imagine the wind passing softly one last time, brushing against stone, easing the space into deeper calm. The walls listen. The night holds steady. You breathe slowly. You are supported. And you drift gently into sleep, carried by the quiet harmony of walls that listened to the wind. As the night opens fully and the sky darkens into deep blue, the stars begin to appear, one by one, quietly, without announcement. Long ago, watchtowers rose gently from the land, not as symbols of alarm, but as places of awareness and calm observation. Beneath starlit skies, these towers stood as silent companions to the night. Unlike modern structures built to dominate the skyline, ancient watchtowers were designed to blend into it. They rose just high enough to offer perspective, never straining upward. Their builders understood that elevation brought clarity, not control. Imagine climbing a gentle path toward one of these towers at dusk. The steps are wide and worn smooth by time. Each movement upward feels unhurried. There is no rush to reach the top. The journey itself is calming. As you arrive, the land stretches out quietly below. Hills soften into shadow. Valleys rest in darkness. The walls and pathways you passed now appear smaller, simpler, held gently by the night. The stars overhead feel close, as though they are listening as well. They do not shine harshly. Their light is steady and soft, pulsing slowly in a rhythm that feels ancient and reassuring. These watchtowers were not places of tension. Those who stood here at night did not strain their eyes or minds. They trusted the stillness. Observation was passive, not alert. The purpose was awareness, not anticipation. As you breathe slowly, imagine leaning against the stone railing of the tower. It is cool and smooth beneath your hands. The wind moves lightly, carrying the quiet scent of night air. There is no urgency in the atmosphere, only presence. The builders chose these locations carefully. Towers were placed where the land naturally opened, offering wide views without effort. From here, one could see changes in light, cloud movement, and star patterns, not to react, but to understand. Over time, these elevated places became spaces of reflection. Standing beneath the stars reminded people of their place within something vast and steady. Concerns of the day softened in comparison to the slow movement of the sky. Imagine the constellations drifting gradually overhead. They move so slowly that their motion is barely noticeable. This gentle pace invites the mind to slow as well. At night, sounds carry differently from this height. Distant noises soften. Closer sounds feel clearer but not intrusive. The quiet becomes layered rather than empty. Those who spent time in these towers learned that awareness did not require tension. By simply being present, they could sense shifts in weather, temperature, and time. This calm attentiveness allowed everyone within the walls below to rest easily. As your breathing deepens, imagine the reassurance this created. Knowing that someone stood quietly beneath the stars allowed others to sleep without concern. Trust flowed naturally, carried by the stillness of the night. The watchtowers themselves seemed to absorb starlight, holding it within their stone surfaces. During the day, this light faded, but at night, the memory of countless starlit hours returned. As you settle further into comfort, imagine lying on your back within the walls, gazing up at the same sky. The watchtower rises nearby, steady and unmoving. You do not need to look up. You simply know it is there. The sky continues its slow journey. Stars shift imperceptibly. Time stretches, becoming less defined. In this space, there is no need to think ahead or behind. The present moment is enough. The people who built and used these watchtowers understood the value of perspective. By rising slightly above daily life, they gained calm rather than control. This lesson remains embedded in the stone. Imagine the watchtower now, long after its original purpose has faded. It stands quietly beneath the same stars, offering the same sense of peace to anyone who pauses nearby. Your body begins to feel heavier, more relaxed. The image of the open sky encourages your thoughts to drift outward and then dissolve. There is nothing you need to hold on to. The stars continue their steady glow, unchanged by time or human concern. The watchtower remains, a silent link between earth and sky. As sleep approaches, imagine the tower gently releasing its watch. There is nothing left to observe. The night is calm. The land is at rest. Your breathing aligns with the slow rhythm of the sky above. Inhale softly. Exhale fully. You are supported by the same quiet awareness that once flowed from watchtowers beneath starlit skies. Nothing demands your attention. Everything is as it should be. And as you drift into sleep, the stars continue their slow journey overhead, and the watchtower stands peacefully, holding the night steady while you rest, deeply and completely. As the night settles further and your breathing becomes slow and steady, imagine walking along a quiet path within ancient American fortifications. These paths were not built for speed or urgency. They were shaped for understanding, guiding movement gently and intentionally, just as the mind is now being guided toward rest. The builders believed that how people moved through a space affected how they felt within it. Straight, narrow corridors were softened by curves. Sharp turns were avoided. Passages widened and narrowed naturally, encouraging awareness without creating tension. As you follow one of these paths in your imagination, notice how your steps feel unhurried. The ground beneath your feet is smooth from years of use, shaped by countless calm journeys. The walls on either side rise comfortably, offering presence without confinement. These pathways were part of a gentle defense system, not meant to confuse or alarm, but to slow movement in a natural way. By guiding motion thoughtfully, the fortifications encouraged mindfulness rather than fear. Imagine walking at dusk when the light fades gradually. The path curves softly, revealing new views without surprise. Each turn feels expected, almost familiar, as if the land itself is guiding you forward. The builders understood that protection could be quiet. Instead of imposing obstacles, they designed spaces that invited awareness. A person moving through these passages naturally became calmer, more attentive, more grounded. As your breathing deepens, imagine how this calm spreads through your body. Each step along the path mirrors each breath, steady, predictable, and unforced. Passages within the walls connected living spaces, gathering areas, and quiet corners for rest. They were used daily, becoming part of the community's rhythm. Over time, these paths absorbed the gentle energy of routine movement. At night, the paths took on a different quality. Shadows softened their edges. Sounds echoed faintly, but not sharply. The walls seemed to lean in slightly, offering reassurance rather than restriction. Imagine resting near one of these passages now. You are not moving, but you can sense the calm flow it represents. The idea of gentle guidance remains, even in stillness. The defensive nature of these paths was subtle. By slowing movement, they created space for thought and awareness. There was no need for sudden reaction. Everything unfolded at a pace that allowed clarity. As you relax further, consider how this applies to your own thoughts. You do not need to rush through them. They can move slowly, gently, finding their way without effort. The builders trusted that calm design led to calm behavior. By shaping paths that encourage steady movement, they created environments where stress naturally dissolved. Imagine walking through one final passage as night deepens. The sky above is visible in small sections framed by stone and earth. Stars appear gradually, reminding you that time continues gently without pressure. The path leads to a quiet, open space, a place meant for rest. Here, the walls open slightly, allowing air and light to circulate freely. This openness signals that movement can now cease. You sit or lie down, feeling supported by the ground. The paths you travel do not disappear, they simply rest, holding the memory of gentle movement. Your breathing slows even more. Inhale calmly, exhale completely. The fortifications do not demand stillness, they allow it. Just as the paths guide movement without force, the night now guides you towards sleep without urgency. Imagine the passages empty and quiet now, their purpose fulfilled for the night. They remain ready but inactive, holding space rather than directing motion. As sleep approaches, let your thoughts follow these same gentle paths, curving softly, slowing naturally, until they come to rest. There is no resistance, no tension, only guidance and ease. The walls stand quietly. The paths rest. The defenses soften into stillness. And you drift peacefully into sleep, carried by the calm wisdom of paths and passages designed not for fear, but for balance and gentle protection. As the night grows deeper and the firelight softens into glowing embers, the world becomes quieter in a way that feels intentional. Long ago, within ancient American fortifications, this was the hour when stories were shared, not loudly, not dramatically, but gently, as if meant only for the listening night. The fire no longer crackled with energy. Its flames lowered, casting slow-moving shadows along the walls. These shadows danced softly across stone and earth, creating shapes that seemed familiar, comforting, and unhurried. People gathered close, not out of need, but out of connection. The warmth of the fire was enough to be felt without intensity. Voices lowered naturally, as though everyone understood that the night preferred calm. Stories shared at this hour were not meant to excite or alarm. They were meant to settle the mind. Elders spoke of seasons passing, of journeys taken slowly, of lessons learned through patience rather than struggle. As you breathe slowly now, imagine sitting among them. The ground beneath you is firm and warm. The walls behind you hold the day's remaining heat, releasing it gently into the night air. These stories were not memorized word for word. They flowed naturally, shaped by the moment and the listener. Sometimes there were pauses, long, comfortable pauses, where the silence itself became part of the story. In those pauses, the fire would dim further. Embers glowed softly, steady and reassuring. The walls absorb the quiet, holding it carefully. Imagine listening without effort. You are not trying to remember details. You are simply allowing the sound of the voice to wash over you. The tone is calm, even, rhythmic. The story spoke of the land, how it changed with the seasons, how it offered guidance to those who paid attention. They spoke of people working together, of days ending peacefully, of nights spent in deep rest. There was no rush to finish a story. If sleep arrived before the ending, that was perfectly acceptable. Stories were not performances, they were invitations to rest. As your breathing deepens, imagine your body responding to this atmosphere. Shoulders soften, muscles relax, thoughts begin to drift, no longer clinging to the edges of the day. The walls around the fire seemed to listen too. They had heard countless stories over generations. They held them quietly, allowing each new voice to blend into the collective memory of the place. Sometimes stories were shared simply to mark the end of the day. They created a gentle boundary between waking and sleeping. Once the last words faded, there was a shared understanding that rest could begin. Imagine the firelight fading further now. The glow is still there, but subtle. Shadows grow softer, less defined. The night feels closer, wrapping gently around the gathering. A story comes to a natural pause. No one rushes to fill the silence. The quiet feels complete, as if nothing more needs to be said. As you settle further into comfort, imagine lying back, gazing briefly at the darkening sky. The stars are faint but steady. The fire's warmth lingers on your skin. The stories continue in the mind even after the voices stop. They become slower, less detailed, blending into dreams. These moments taught an important lesson, that connection does not require constant conversation. Sometimes being together in quiet is enough. As your eyelids grow heavier, imagine the last ember glowing softly before dimming. The walls hold the warmth and the memory of shared voices. The fire is no longer needed. The stories have done their work. The night takes over gently. You breathe slowly. Inhale, calm. Exhale, tension. The ancient practice of sharing stories at day's end was not about entertainment. It was about transition, helping the mind release the day and prepare for rest. You are experiencing that same transition now. The walls remain steady and quiet. The firelight has faded. The stories linger softly, like echoes that no longer need sound. And as sleep arrives, it does so naturally, guided by the gentle rhythm of voices, warmth, and shared stillness, carrying you peacefully into the quiet of the night. As the night becomes still and your breathing settles into a slow, steady rhythm, imagine standing within a space shaped not only by hands, but by intention. Long ago, ancient American builders believed that protection was more than physical. It was spiritual, emotional, and deeply connected to balance. This belief was reflected in the geometry of the spaces they created. These fortifications were not random arrangements of stone and earth. Every curve, angle, and opening was placed with care. The builders understood that shapes influence how a space feels. Circles invited unity, squares offered stability. Pathways aligned with the movement of the sun and stars, creating harmony between earth and sky. As you breathe in gently, imagine tracing the outline of these forms with your mind. There is no sharpness here. Lines flow smoothly, corners feel softened by purpose. The geometry feels calming, as if it naturally encourages your thoughts to slow. Protection in this understanding was about balance. Walls were placed to create a sense of enclosure without confinement. Openings allowed light and air to move freely, preventing stagnation. Nothing was sealed off completely. Everything was connected. Imagine walking through one of these spaces at twilight. The ground beneath your feet feels centered, even. You notice how your body instinctively relaxes. The proportions feel right, as though the space was designed with your comfort in mind. The builders believed that when a space was balanced, the people within it would feel balanced as well. Stress dissolved more easily, rest came naturally, the geometry itself became a quiet guardian. As your breathing deepens, imagine sitting at the center of a circular enclosure. The walls curve gently around you, creating a sense of completeness. There is no beginning or end, only presence. This circle was not meant to trap or isolate. It symbolized continuity, reminding those inside that life moved in cycles, day into night, activity into rest. Within this shape, it felt natural to let go. Other spaces followed rectangular forms, offering grounding and stability. These shapes helped people feel anchored, especially during the night. Corners were aligned carefully, never harsh, allowing energy to settle rather than collect. Imagine lying down within such a space now. The lines around you feel orderly but soft. There is no chaos here. Everything has its place. The builders also paid close attention to direction. Openings faced the rising sun to welcome new beginnings. Others aligned with prevailing winds to encourage gentle airflow. Some spaces were oriented toward the stars, allowing quiet reflection beneath the night sky. These alignments created a sense of protection that extended beyond walls. They connected people to something larger, nature, time, and rhythm. Knowing this connection existed allowed the mind to relax. As you exhale slowly, imagine the geometry of the space holding you gently, like a well-designed vessel. It does not press inward. It supports from all sides. The spiritual geometry of protection taught that safety came from harmony, not control. When spaces were balanced, people felt less need to defend themselves. Trust grew naturally. At night, this trust became most apparent. People slept deeply, knowing they were held within a design that respected both body and spirit. Imagine the quiet of these spaces after everyone has rested. The walls remain, holding their shape, maintaining balance even in silence. They do not shift or demand attention. Their work continues quietly. Your thoughts begin to mirror this stillness. They become less sharp, more rounded, drifting gently without effort. As sleep approaches, imagine the geometry of the space dissolving into feeling rather than form. You no longer need to visualize shapes. You simply feel supported, centered, complete. The ancient builders believed that when a space was created with intention, it continued to protect long after its makers were gone. That intention lingers still, in the balance, in the calm, in the ease you feel now. Your breathing slows further. Inhale gently. Exhale fully. The spiritual geometry of protection surrounds you, not as walls, but as a sense of order and peace. Nothing presses in, nothing needs to be held up. And as you drift into sleep, you are carried by the same quiet balance that once shaped stone and earth, held gently, safely, and completely through the night. As the night settles deeper, and your breathing becomes slow and even. Imagine how time passes gently when it is measured by seasons rather than clocks. Long ago, ancient American fortifications did not remain unchanged. They moved quietly with the rhythm of the year, shaped by sun, rain, wind, and snow. The builders understood that change was something to accept. It was something to engage. Walls were created with the knowledge that seasons would touch them, soften them, and slowly transform them. Picture the first warmth of spring. The ground beneath the walls begins to release its winter chill. Small plants emerge near the stone, their roots finding space between earth and rock. The walls do not push them away. They allow growth to happen naturally. As you breathe slowly, imagine the scent of damp soil and fresh air. Rain falls lightly, darkening the stone, making its colors deeper and richer. Water runs gently along grooves shaped by time, not force. Spring brings renewal. The walls appear slightly different now, cleaner, refreshed, alive with subtle movement. They hold this change quietly, without tension. Then comes summer. The sun rises higher, warming the stone throughout the day. The walls absorb heat slowly, releasing it again as evening arrives. This gentle exchange creates comfort within the space, making nights calm and steady. Imagine resting near the walls on a summer evening. The stone behind you is warm, soothing. The air moves softly, carrying the sounds of insects and distant life. The walls feel like steady companions, holding the warmth of the day as the night unfolds. As your breathing deepens, imagine the sound of wind moving through dry leaves, brushing against stone surfaces. The walls listen, just as they always have. Then winter arrives. Snow settles softly, covering edges and surfaces. The walls are quiet beneath this blanket, insulated by stillness. The land becomes hushed, and sound carries differently. Imagine the walls under snowlight. They look softer, gentler. Harsh lines disappear. Everything feels slowed, peaceful. The builders knew winter would come. They designed walls to endure it, not by resisting cold, but by accommodating it. Stone expands and contracts slightly. Earth shifts. The walls adjust without breaking. As you rest now, imagine this patience. The walls do not fear change, they trust the cycle. With each season, the walls gather experience. Rain smooths their surfaces, sun fades certain tones, wind shapes edges. Over time, these changes create character rather than damage. The walls become storytellers, not through words, but through texture, color, and form. Each season leaves a gentle mark, adding depth rather than strain. As your eyelids grow heavier, imagine the walls transitioning through many years, each season blending into the next. There is no urgency in this process. Change happens slowly, almost unnoticed. This slow rhythm allowed people to feel secure. They knew the walls would not suddenly fail. They trusted their gradual transformation. At night, during any season, the walls offered the same steady presence. Whether warmed by summer sun or cooled by winter snow, they held space for rest. Your breathing aligns with this rhythm now. Inhale gently. Exhale slowly. Just as the walls accepted each season, you can accept the day as complete. There is no need to hold on to its details. Like fallen leaves or melting snow, they can settle and fade. The seasons that changed the walls did not weaken them, they strengthened their connection to time and land. As sleep approaches, imagine yourself resting beside walls that have seen countless springs, summers, autumns, and winters. Their calm endurance surrounds you. Nothing needs to be rushed, nothing needs to be resisted. And as you drift into sleep, you are carried gently by the same seasonal rhythm, slow, steady, and peaceful, into deep and restful night. As the night deepens and the world around you grows still, silence begins to feel less like an absence and more like a presence. Long ago, within ancient American fortifications, people discovered that silence itself could be a form of strength, steady, reliable, and deeply calming. These places were not always quiet. During the day, life moved gently through them, footsteps on stone, soft conversations, the sounds of work and routine. But when night arrived, silence was welcomed, not feared. The builders understood that silence allowed awareness to expand naturally. Without noise, subtle changes could be felt rather than heard. A shift in wind, a change in temperature, the quiet settling of the land, all of these became clear in stillness. As you breathe slowly now, imagine the gradual arrival of silence within the walls. Voices fade, fires dim, the last movements of the day come to rest. Nothing is forced, the quiet simply arrives. The walls themselves seem to encourage this silence. Their thickness absorbs sound, softening echoes and allowing calm to settle. Within these spaces, even small noises felt gentle rather than sharp. Silence did not mean vigilance or tension, it meant trust. People trusted the land, the walls, and the rhythm of the night to hold them safely. Imagine lying within these fortifications, listening not for threats, but for reassurance. The silence feels full, filled with steady presence and balance. As your breathing deepens, notice how silence affects your body. Muscles relax, the mind stops scanning, thoughts slow, no longer needing to compete with sound. The builders recognized that constant noise created strain. By allowing silence to dominate the night, they created an environment where rest could come easily. At night, silence acted as a gentle defense. It allowed people to sense disturbances without effort. A sudden sound would stand out clearly against the quiet, making awareness easier rather than harder. But most nights, nothing disturbed the stillness, and in those moments, silence became a companion rather than a guard. Imagine the walls holding this silence carefully, like a precious resource. They did not echo loudly, they absorbed and softened, creating a sense of enclosure without pressure. As you settle deeper into comfort, imagine the quiet expanding around you like a calm ocean with no waves. You are floating effortlessly, supported by stillness. The strength of silence lay in its simplicity. It required no action, no reaction. It simply existed. The people within these walls learned to rest fully in this quiet. Sleep came naturally, without interruption, guided by the steady absence of disturbance. As your eyelids grow heavier, imagine the walls standing silently night after night, offering the same calm defense. They do not move, they do not speak, their presence is enough. Your breathing becomes slower, deeper, more even. Inhale softly, exhale completely. Silence allows your thoughts to drift away one by one. There is no need to follow them. They dissolve naturally into the quiet. This is the same silence that once protected entire communities, not by force, but by clarity and calm. As sleep approaches, imagine the silence growing warmer, more comforting. It wraps around you gently, holding you steady. Nothing needs to be heard, nothing needs to be done. And as you drift into deep sleep, silence remains. Strong, peaceful, and unwavering, the quiet defense that carries you safely through the night. As the night continues to deepen and your breathing grows slow and effortless, imagine a moment in time when change arrived quietly. Long ago, many ancient American fortifications were not abandoned in urgency or fear. They were left behind gradually, gently, as life moved in new directions. There were no sudden departures, no chaos, no sense of loss. Instead, there was understanding. People recognized when a place had fulfilled its purpose and when it was time to move forward. Imagine the final days of life within these walls. Daily routines continue, unhurried. Fires are lit and extinguished as usual. Conversations remain calm. There is no tension in the air. As you breathe slowly, imagine the knowledge shared quietly among the community that change was coming, but that it did not need to be rushed. The land itself seemed to guide this transition. Soil shifted subtly, water paths changed, resources drew people toward new spaces. The walls did not resist this movement. They remained calm, accepting. People began to carry fewer belongings each day. Tools were gathered thoughtfully. Objects were not discarded in haste. Everything was done with care. Imagine walking through the fortifications during this time. Some spaces are quieter than before. Others remain active, but with a softer energy. The walls stand patiently, observing without concern. As evening falls, fires glow gently. Stories are shared, not with sadness, but with gratitude. These walls had served well. They had protected, comforted, and supported generations. As your breathing deepens, imagine the final night spent within the walls. Sleep comes easily. There is no fear of what comes next. The land beyond the walls is familiar, welcoming. In the morning, the last footsteps move away slowly. The walls remain. They do not collapse. They do not cry out. They simply stand. Over time, nature begins its quiet work. Grass grows where paths once were. Stones shift slightly as earth settles. Wind moves through spaces once filled with voices. The fortifications are not forgotten. They are remembered differently. They become part of the landscape's memory rather than its daily life. As you rest now, imagine the walls adjusting to their new role. They no longer hold people inside. They hold silence, light, and shadow. Rain falls and dries. Seasons pass. The walls age gracefully without strain. There is no fear in this process, only transformation. Imagine travelers passing by years later. They pause not out of alarm, but out of curiosity and calm. The walls offer a sense of peace rather than mystery. As your eyelids grow heavier, imagine the comfort of knowing that nothing was lost, only changed. The energy of the place remains gentle and welcoming. The gradual abandonment taught a powerful lesson, that endings do not need to be dramatic to be meaningful. Letting go can be peaceful. As sleep approaches, allow your own thoughts of the day to be released in the same way. There is no need to cling. everything has served its purpose. The walls remain steady and quiet, holding memory without burden. You breathe slowly. Inhale, ease. Exhale, release. And as you drift into sleep, you are carried by the calm understanding that change can happen without fear, softly, naturally, and peacefully into the night. As the night becomes quieter still and your breathing settles into a slow, gentle rhythm, imagine a place where voices have long faded, yet presence remains. Long after people moved on from ancient American fortifications, something steady stayed behind. Not sound, not movement, but memory held in silence. When voices were present, the walls listened. They absorbed laughter, conversation, and quiet exchanges. When voices left, the walls did not feel empty. They felt complete, holding what had been without needing to repeat it. Imagine walking through such a place now. The ground is undisturbed. The air is calm. No footsteps echo, yet the space feels welcoming rather than abandoned. As you breathe slowly, imagine the walls standing exactly as they have for centuries. They do not demand attention. They simply exist, balanced and still. The absence of voices allows other sounds to emerge. Wind moving gently through openings, birds calling from a distance, the soft shift of light as clouds pass overhead. These sounds feel natural, unintrusive. The walls hold memory not as stories or words, but as atmosphere. The calm you feel now is the same calm that once supported rest, reflection, and community. Imagine sunlight touching the stone during the day, warming it slowly. At night, the warmth fades gently, leaving behind coolness and comfort. This daily rhythm continues without interruption. As your breathing deepens, imagine the land reclaiming space thoughtfully. Plants grow near walls, not aggressively, but in quiet partnership. Roots settle where they fit naturally. Nothing here feels rushed. Time moves slowly, as it always has. The absence of voices allows the space to rest fully. The walls no longer serve as shelters for people, but they shelter stillness. They offer a place for the mind to quiet. Imagine sitting near one of these walls at dusk. There is no need to speak. The silence feels full and supportive. As your eyelids grow heavier, imagine the walls holding countless moments within their texture. These moments do not press outward. They remain softly embedded. The fortifications continue to teach, even in quiet. They show that presence does not require noise. Meaning does not require constant activity. As sleep approaches, allow your own thoughts to fade gently, leaving behind a calm awareness similar to this place. You are supported by stillness. The walls remain steady. The land holds everything gently. Nothing is lost when voices are gone. Something deeper remains. And as you drift into sleep, you rest within that enduring calm, where silence carries memory and stillness offers peace through the night. As the night reaches its deepest calm and your breathing slows into an easy, natural rhythm, imagine yourself resting among walls that no longer belong to time. These walls do not count years or remember dates. They exist quietly, beyond urgency, beyond expectation, steady and timeless. The air around you is still and comfortable, not too warm, not too cool. The ground beneath you feels solid and dependable, as though it has been holding this exact moment in readiness. The walls nearby rise gently, not enclosing you, but surrounding you with a sense of calm presence. There is nothing these walls need to do, nothing they need to guard. They simply remain, balanced, patient, and complete. And in their stillness, they offer you permission to rest. Imagine lying back slowly, feeling your body settle into the earth. Every point of contact feels supportive. Your shoulders release, your back softens, your legs grow heavy in the most comforting way. The walls have witnessed countless nights like this, nights where the world softened, where movement slowed, where sleep arrived without effort. They recognize the signs in you now, the quiet breath, the loosening thoughts, the gentle surrender to rest. As you inhale, imagine drawing in the calm that surrounds you. As you exhale, imagine releasing the last traces of the day. The walls do not hold on to anything unnecessary, neither do you need to. Above you, the sky stretches wide and dark, scattered with faint stars that glow steadily without urgency. They move slowly, almost imperceptibly, reminding you that time here is generous and unhurried. The walls feel warm with memory, not memory that speaks, but memory that reassures. They have held laughter, footsteps, silence, and sleep. All of it settled gently into stone and earth, leaving behind a quiet sense of belonging. You may notice how your thoughts begin to drift farther apart now. They no longer form complete stories. They rise softly and then fade, like echoes that dissolve before reaching the walls. The night wraps around everything evenly. There are no sharp edges here, no interruptions, just a steady sense of continuity that feels deeply safe. Imagine the walls as companions rather than structures. They are not watching, they are not waiting. They are simply present, unchanging, dependable, and calm. Your breathing grows slower still. Each inhale feels deeper, each exhale longer. The space between breaths becomes peaceful, almost weightless. The timeless walls have nothing to expect from you. You do not need to understand them or imagine their past. Their presence is enough. Yours is too. As sleep approaches, your body sinks further into comfort. Muscles relax completely. Your face softens. Your mind lets go of form and detail. The walls remain steady through it all, unaffected by movement or stillness. They do not react. They do not shift. They simply hold the night gently in place. You feel protected not by force, but by endurance, by the quiet strength of something that has stood through centuries without strain. The sounds around you are minimal, perhaps a faint breeze, perhaps nothing at all. Silence feels natural, full, welcoming. Your awareness begins to narrow, focusing only on the sensation of rest. The walls fade from sight, but not from feeling. Their calm remains. There is no need to drift anywhere else. Sleep comes to you, settling softly like nightfall itself. And as you fall fully asleep among the timeless walls, you do so without effort, without thought, held gently by stillness, supported by quiet endurance, and carried peacefully into deep, lasting rest.